want to thank you for coming on, Devin.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Love to go ahead and start off with a great question I always love to ask our people, everyone that comes on. Devin, what got you started in racing? What was your big, what bit that bug for you?
Well, it was really watching my father race, really kind of got me into it. He raced Spec Miata
Okay.
for probably a good 7, 8 years, and
Mhm.
then he eventually made the switch to pro racing and started in touring car, ran a bunch of touring car, and that was kind of where the team got started. And watching him, go from amateur racing to pro racing and have a lot of success, I always was just itching to get out there. And I never actually planned on really driving too much.
Mhm.
It really just kind of happened. And it's kind of a crazy story we can go into a little later. But I was always kind of just like, oh, I'll drive a little SCCA and be a mechanic.
Mhm.
But it really happened really quick for me.
That's really cool to have it. So many people, it's a family affair racing. And I know for my family, racing goes back a lot of ways. And I started karts, and at my first track I went to, I remember Roebling Road. I'm from Georgia. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
that's always been a great track. But,
I
racing
love
is,
Roebling.
was that?
I said I love Roebling.
I love that's my home track. I'm 45 minutes from it, and so I go there
Nice.
as often as I can. And that's where my first one was. And racing is the higher you get, the more money you got to bring. And eventually, it just kind of budgeted me out. But saying with SCCA, once I got out of racing, I still wanted to something to do with it, and that's when I started picking up corner marshaling. And it watching that and watching the races, it really could make you a lot to a lot of people. If you
Yeah.
race, corner marshaling will make you a better driver, especially on the blue flag, and to be able to tell the gaps and stuff. And so been doing that and work my way up flag chief. And so I make the rounds, go to a lot of different tracks and stuff. But that's really cool how everyone, was SECA and Spec Miata is just an awesome group to be in.
Yeah, that was I have a Spec Miata right now that doesn't have a motor in it. So if anyone out there has a reasonably priced motor, I'm
But,
looking.
so much of your career has been spent with tech sport, your pro career and, amateur career. What has that team meant to you, just going forward and from it?
Right now, it's pretty much everything. It was a business my father started on the side of our house, and really as a way just for him to race. And it really snowballed quick. We went from 2 cars trying to support his racing to 7 within three
Wow.
years. And so the business tech sport is, I feel, just as in it with he is as he is. I've been working on the side of the house with him when I was a kid, and the only real break I had was when I was away at college. Uh, I'm pretty committed, and I really, means a lot anytime I get to represent the team well and go out and put a good result forward. It really means a lot because I feel that I'm just as much a part of the team as anyone else on both sides, driving and managing and working on the cars.
Feel it's kind of like a legacy you want to keep going forward, and it's been great. Y'all have had a lot of success remember watching you in TC America and GR
Yeah.
Cup, and now all the way to Mustang Challenge. It's really great what that team has done.
Yeah, it's been a wild. Every year it just gets we get a little deeper in, it gets a little crazier, and we love it. We're along for the ride as far as we can go.
You know, when you started your pro career was in SRO. Talk about what that was like for you making that jump from the amateur all the way to pro, because so much of SRO is still like that's a great jump for people coming out of like SCCA or NASA or something and looking to make that step.
So I was really fortunate because I had worked in the SRO paddock
Mhm.
with our team. Our team raced Touring Car America for when I got in easily 5, 6, 7 years. And so I already knew so much, and it was such an advantage. I knew all the people, the grid workers were just giving me nothing but support. And it really allowed me to just make the jump pretty seamlessly. If anything, it was actually an environment I felt more comfortable in. I had
Really?
only done, I mean, it had to be only like 3 SCCA races
Mhm.
before I got into SRO. I really don't even feel I could have got a license without my father at that point. And so it was, even the way I got my license was a little, man, I don't know. I didn't have a lot of experience. And so I don't know if I knew any better. I just was like, this is a car, this is a field. This is more what I'm even wanting to do and it was more familiar for me.
And I think that probably helped your advantage so much, just that familiarity, just, knowing people and, like I
I
say,
always say it cut years off. Like
mhm,
there was working in that paddock and being on the radio with people and being in that environment, it's cut years off me as a driver to where I was able to just jump in, focus on my driving. I didn't need to learn all these little rules. I didn't have to walk on eggshells as I really found myself. If all you have to worry about is driving, it cuts down a tremendous amount of the learning curve that most people have to deal with.
throughout your career there, the wins and podiums came honestly kind of there was a lot of good momentum for you, but what was it kind of like making that transition from SRO to IMSA? Because we see a lot of people go back and forth between the two series, and they're great series.
Yeah, that was a tougher transition, I would say. IMSA they're very different. IMSA is a little more professional in they expect you also to be more professional. And so, you don't get your grid sheets. You don't, you have to figure that stuff out and know what side you're going to be on. And the meetings are much more down to the point. And it's just a more professional environment where there's more expected on you and it's a little more difficult. Um, but once I settled in, I'd say after, the first weekend, it feels very comfortable. Everyone there is so amazing. And that goes for both series. There's so many good faces and good people that make you feel comfortable. So they're different, but they're both really good places.
Making that jump to IMSA and then into Mustang Challenge, what was it like having to learn new tracks and new car at the same time, coming from something you were really familiar with? You spent a lot of time with the TCR or the touring cars and the GR Cup, but then come when the new Dark Horse came out and you decided, well, let's try that. How was that from, your driving perspective?
Yeah, that was a huge jump. The dark horse is no joke. And it came easier than I thought. Like it's kind of like it's easy to get to a certain point,
Mhm,
but then like if you want to actually make that little step, that's where it is really hard. Like I got really good, really comfortable right off the bat, but then I really pretty much for the last year have spent a ton of time trying to focus on the higher horsepower driving
mhm.
style versus a lower horsepower driving style, where you gotta, rather than just bomb the corners, release the brake, carry as much speed as possible in a lower horsepower car, it doesn't always work in these cars. You want to have more of the power down for more time. And that was like, I had to like rewire my brain because every instinct was send that speed in, try and get on power as early as you can. And it just doesn't work. You have to get the car settled, get it low, and power it out all at once. More percentage throttle is going to be a quicker lap in this car, where the lower stuff, it's really not. And I really didn't feel like I fully got there until this weekend. I could really feel myself getting the good runs and really like settling the car into the exact spot it needed to be in. And so right now I'm feeling really good that almost like I finally feel like that transition might even be complete in learning the new driving style because it is quite different. It's also quite a bit more fun.
you know, Speaking of last week, it was a big week for you there. You got your first pole and your first win in IMSA. And race one and race two were just totally, a night and day. Race one was dry and it was what, was it early in the day? I
Yeah, they
can't
were
remember.
both pretty early.
Yeah, they're both pretty early. So one of the first sessions out having to learn or get the, track temperature and stuff. And then race two, rained all, through the night there. So you were on a wet but drying track. Just talk about how that weekend was and what, set it apart from some of the other weekends aside from the win there.
It was a lot came together. We Me as a driver, like I just said, like I felt like there was a moment where I really understood what I've been working towards for the last year. The team itself, we've done some testing and had some really good opportunities that we haven't in the past to really get out and learn some stuff about the car. And then with that learning that we were able to do, it really, the rest all came with it. Like all of a sudden, I understood the setups and some of the things last year that as a driver and even as the setup engineer in some regards, I just couldn't get my head around what some of the other guys were doing. Where I feel like this weekend, everything started to come together and make sense. And I was ready to drive the car the way it needed to be driven. And then because we had understood some different elements of the car, we were able to set the car up in the exact way it needed to be. And it just felt like a total culmination. And we had fastest lap in both races, pole for both races, and the win in race two. So I felt like the results really showed that culmination, which when you're working as hard as we are to get to this goal, it really is the reward that the team needed and I needed personally.
Race two, obviously you got to win, but that was a interesting race because it was a wet but drying track, and we saw people having some of the drivers like Cole Lofsgaard, who's been, lights out this season. He was really struggling. How did you feel that the way the track changed and the Michelin rubber compared to race one? Obviously, it was you were having to move around and find the grip there.
Yeah, it was only wet for a little bit, like probably only the first 10 to 15 minutes. It felt like somewhat of a wet track. And I personally, that's conditions I really enjoy. I feel very comfortable in that kind of mixed conditions, and every lap it gets a little better and you can just push a little harder. I personally like those conditions. I don't find them to be particularly challenging. Every
Mhm.
track, every race, every session, there's different challenges. This is just this session's challenge. Um, and the race itself, I felt super in control. I just didn't want to run my tires off. And it was like that culmination kind of it was the pace we got to show our pace. I think if it was a dry race, Cole would have probably had a much better run, but I think for the most part we would have, just done our thing. It didn't feel like a particular challenge. Just to be honest, like
For
it
you, it
just
didn't
is
look that way
it's
from the
just a
broadcast.
session. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just another session. There's always, there's a lot of elements with the car. I'm sure that first time on Reigns, there was things for him and the team to learn. I mean, honestly, we've only driven once or twice before. In the one session, we had to do a pit lane tire. We didn't even get to set our pressure, so there wasn't a ton that we really knew, but I think we made a good guess. And I think, there's a good chance that they didn't make as good of a guess. And especially, drying track, we're setting our pressures, it's raining. By the time we're going out, it's like, oh man, this track's gonna be dry. And so I think there was some elements there that made him struggle. And then the fact that it dried so fast and I didn't have to race anyone. I could just sit comfortably. Uh, Sandy was breathing down my neck the whole race, but he never quite got close enough that I had to push super hard on the tires. And I think, we were just riding that line of overheating and possibly ending up a little bit where Cole was. And fortunately, everything held together. I was on used tires where the rest of the field was on new. I have no idea. It felt like I had less grip, but the Michelins are like a dry tire in some regard. The wets are very similar to the dry in some regards. It's one of the ways they hold up in those kind of sessions with a heavy car. Uh, so I'm not sure how that played in. I felt like I was losing on the brakes, but other people thought it might have helped. So that one I really have no idea.
That was the point you bring up on the broadcast. They were talking the lap times weren't really dropping drastically as the track was drying like what you would think. You look at other series and they're running on wet tires and on a drying track, and they just start losing all this lap time. And it was really impressive how it's impressive how what Michelin's been able to do with these tires that make them hold up for so long. And 45 minutes on a drying track and on a
I
wet
know.
tire, that's a long time.
We still had tread left
That's what's
It could
amazing
have
about it.
it could have rained and we would all just been fine. Like it was pretty every time or the one or two times we've run them on dry tracks, it is always pretty remarkable the way that tire holds up. And the dry tire is so grippy. Like the not the wet, the dry tire, it's like, man, that stuff just sticks to the road. Wouldn't mind if it lasted a little longer, but there's not much you can ask for out of 30, I mean 3630, I think it is with me in
Yeah.
it.
You know,
Like,
looking back, the first 2 weekends of the season have been great for you. I was at Sebring, and Sebring, well, you got on the podium in was it race two, I believe, right?
yeah.
Yeah, race two. Talk about how that's been, and it's just been a string of momentum building races this year.
Yeah, Sebring was, I think, a wake-up call. If I could be honest, I think I hadn't driven the Mustang since the end of last year, and there were elements of me that could have done better, and for the most part, there was just some elements of the car we didn't quite fully understand. And last year we had really good pace at the end of the race.
Mhm.
That weekend, we had really good pace at the beginning,
Mhm.
and by the end, I was radioing in. I thought I was losing a tire because
Oh wow.
yeah, it was getting pretty understeer, hard to drive. So that was, I think, like a little bit of a wake-up call for me and for the team that we got to go out, we got to test some more, we got to work on ourselves. I got to work on myself to manage these situations better. And at Sebring, we were really competitive in like the first three laps, and then everything kind of fell off from there.
Yeah.
And there was also a problem we had found with the car because it's a new car for me this year. There was also a problem with the car in the related to the shocks
Mhm.
that I only found out about when I did a sweep through the car as I got back to the shop because I was kind of like something doesn't feel right. And when we got back, we did find that there was some issues with the car that would have an effect over a long run.
And I think for a lot of people, Sebring, the first race was bouncing a lot of the rust off because the last race was October at the Roval, and that was a one-off race, and that was a really difficult race for all the teams. With that, I know talking to Will Lucas, Sam Paley, a lot of those guys that battling the NASCAR rubber really had an effect on that race. How did you feel, kind of from your
Yeah, that was an
perspective there?
interesting weekend. Eh, Yeah, like it was hard to tell. I heard a lot of those same feedback from the track from other drivers. And it was like every session would be a little different. And and one of the things was we raced at one time during the day and then we raced a second time at night. And that also was like going out for that night session it was insane. It was like, oh my God, like shoot, like this is really different. But then once you're like in the pack, it's you don't think about it, and then all of a sudden the lights just become normal. And I crashed in that race. So I mean it was a difficult weekend, but it I don't think I noticed it quite as much as some of the other drivers.
Yeah, because I know a lot of them were I wouldn't. I guess you would say fussing that it made it so much difficult that there was no grip there. And for some people, it was really easy with the grip. But I know that y'all tested, or a lot of teams tested a few
Yeah,
weeks
we
before.
did a test day before
Yeah,
that event, and it definitely felt different during the NASCAR weekend than it did when I was running with street cars in a track day.
but it made it interesting, that race, and I think that really set up for this year. But as we look forward in the rest of this year, obviously you're coming into your second season of this championship, and you had a great season last year. Without, some of the guys leaving and moving up the other series, do you feel that this year that what you were able to build on last year gives you probably your best chance at fighting for the championship this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel super ready as a driver for this championship. And right now, I feel like the team is just on it, ready for it. I mean, we are like hungry for it right now and chasing those wins. The whole team, top down, really wants it. And, coming out of Sebring with the fourth and third, it really set us back in the points by about 100 points. But, good weekend. Cole's misfortune is my fortune, and we were able to make up 40 points throughout the weekend. And the fastest laps in the polls helped so much. So I was really happy we got those. So we got another 60 points to make up, but it's just gonna make it. We're gonna make it up, and it's just gonna make it a more entertaining championship for everyone watching.
It's building thing. Each session just build. It's like a Lego, just step by step. And
Yep.
so we head to Mid Ohio the next race, and what, just under a month, for right at a month. How do you feel heading into one of the? That's a it really physical track there, Mid Ohio.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've never driven that track, which in the same sense makes me a little nervous. But I'm mostly excited. I've never learning a new track is never that scary. So we sim it, and go there and do our thing. I'm gonna try and make it out and do a test day there before the event so I can just like learn the track. I might not even I got to see what tires I have. I might run some older stuff. So really just I just want to learn the track and so that way when we head into the weekend, I don't have to waste any time. But for the most part, once we get under, I feel pretty confident. The most important stuff is I think just application is applying what I've learned, applying what the team's learned, and trying to keep what gave us success at Laguna, just consistently apply that across the board. And I think that's the strategy there. Uh, Try and chase the wins.
Yeah, that's all you really can do there. But at the beginning of the year, the big announcement came out. Ford had their big racing celebration right before the Rolex, and you got announced as this one of the second class of the Ford Racing Development Team. How big for that is your career, and what does that mean getting to be a part of Ford family like that?
Yeah, that meant the world to me. That was I really appreciate Ford and that whole program and everything they put together. And the invite to be a part of it was, I mean, yeah, that has to be one of, if not my biggest accomplishment in racing. And I mean, I just can't even explain how thrilled I am to be a part of Ford. They're such a good manufacturer right now on the street side and on the racing side. The people in the racing side are literally some of the nicest, most capable people I've ever met in my life. And the product shop, the GT3 car just won at Laguna, GT4 car just podiumed. The Dark Horse is ridiculously fast. It handles so good for how much heavy it is. I mean, it's just like a production car with some bolt-on parts. It's ridiculous how good that car is. I really, it almost runs GT4 lap times at some tracks. It's, they do an amazing job. And to be a part of an organization that is so committed to racing right now and so wholly involved with like top down all levels of motorsports. And really, the people at Ford are just above and beyond some of the best people I've ever met. And being a part of that program really means the world to me. And my biggest goal this year is to try and make them proud and try and give reasons to move up and try and keep running with Ford. I'm very committed to the brand right now.
Last 2 years you got to share, even before you got announced at Pro, you got to share the podium with two of the development team drivers, Sam and Robert Noaker. Look what they're able to do right now. Then at Sebring and Laguna, you got to share it with Will Lucas, who just got announced as one of the drive,
Yeah.
excuse me, racing team members there. How exciting is that? Just that seeing what Ford, the talent they got in the pipeline, just getting to share the podium with those guys.
It's so cool. It's such a cool thing they're doing, the way they're elevating and trying to develop the drivers who have committed to their brand. I love seeing those guys go out and have success. It just makes me want to chase everything they're chasing. And it's really cool to see all those guys going out and doing such cool stuff and having such good success in Fords. I love it. It really is like such a cool thing. And the within the junior team, everyone again is so nice and it's such a good energy to it. And we're always in the group chat texting and sending congratulations and good lucks. It really is a Ford family, and they really do a great job at keeping it that way.
I really like seeing we seen it last year, and through first three races, it was see it again at Mid Ohio. Mr. CEO Jim Farley wanting to be a part of it, racing against y'all guys. Why the results for him doesn't really matter because he's the CEO though, but it's
He
just
does
awesome.
pretty
See,
good though.
he did really well at Laguna. I was really pleased. I know
Yeah.
Sebring's tough for everyone just because of the nature of that track, but he did really well at Laguna.
Yeah, he barely does any events too. Like he does like three, four of events a year, and he's so busy. He doesn't have time to put in the work we're putting in, and he's pretty competitive. It honestly is very impressive to me.
I
Every
loved
time I
it,
see him.
talking to him at Sebring, how involved Ford is. You see Ford in everything, not just IMSA, but I mean, look at next week. We got the Nürburgring 24. We got three Mustangs in that. They're involved with Formula One, Red Bull, off-road stuff. They had a great showing at Dakar, NASCAR. Ford just wants to be in everything and they're winning in everything. And that's what makes it so impressive for a manufacturer to what they can do.
Yeah, it is really, really impressive. And I think it really, again, comes down to like the people in the right places. Like they have I mean, just in my experience of the people I deal with, they're the best. They know so much what they're doing. The cars they're putting out are so well developed. Our team also runs a GT4 car in SRO with Frankie Muniz, and yeah, we love that car. That car is so nice for a GT4 car. Everything's so well thought out. You put the right people in the right places, and you have people super capable and super motivated with a good culture, and you see what they can accomplish. It is the sky's the limit right now.
Being a part of the Ford family like that, does it give you a clear, direct path to make the next step up to, let's say, GT4 and then just keep on moving up? Because I know in the future, next year with Ford's going to hypercar, does being a part of this family give you a clear path to make that next step in your career, whether it be to GT4 or
Yeah, I feel it does. I mean, it's exactly Ford right now is trying to take their drivers in across all the places that people have invested in the brand to race their car. Their way is the right back to get it back is right now they're looking for development drivers and people who they can guide and give resources to some resources in different ways to try and give people the opportunity to take that next step in a Ford. And I think it's a really smart thing that for any manufacturer to try and keep people in a Ford and get people committed to the brand. It sure has done it to me. I'm very committed. And it's really a cool thing. And it's super amazing for me to be in it. I mean, there's different elements of simulator work that you're able to get on and different elements of mentorship and fitness stuff that they guide you in. There's a lot of guidance in how to take yourself from where you're at and really push yourself to the next level. And yeah, I mean, some of us are going to be able to make that step and push, and then some of us are going to probably get replaced with other people. And it's the natural cycle. And so all I'm trying to do this year on a singular goal is to go out and show Ford that I'm worth taking the next step with, and that I'm committed to the brand. And I really want to come out of this year with some path forward in to get to GT4 and maybe even GT3 someday or whatever.
yeah,
Honestly, I'll race NASCAR, I'll race off-road. I just want to drive.
I don't blame you there. Speaking of Ford with the global brand, last year at the end of the off season, you got the opportunity to go to Malaysia and do, or no, excuse me, Fuji and do the with the Mustang. Talk about how exciting that was taking a Mustang all the way to Japan to race.
That was like the coolest thing I've ever done. Japan's a really cool place. The fans there are unbelievable. They love the Mustang. I mean, I cannot tell you how many people could not like it's like an exotic over there.
Yeah,
And it was really cool. Driving with Kazuki Nakajima was unbelievably cool. They were like the nicest. Giuliani Alisi too. They're like the nicest people ever. I learned so much. Like that was actually also something I feel helped going into this year was going over there and getting to compare myself to some of the best drivers in the world in the same car. And it was that was the experience of a lifetime. It was the car handled great too. It did the 4 hour with no issues. We were super competitive relative to the other cars. We ended up winning the ST USA class, even though the other car DNF'd. But it was
How
awesome.
how exciting was it, being an American, representing an American brand, standing on a podium,
It
but
was
against
so cool.
such a
They
great track like Fuji.
they had like little flags for us, and yeah, I mean it was really cool getting to represent America. Yeah, I'm almost speechless from the whole event because it went by so quick, and it was just like one of those surreal moments where you're like, I didn't truly ever think I would get to do something this cool and this meaningful, and driving with some of the best in the world, representing America in a foreign country, driving such a legendary track on with such a legendary car. And it killed it. That car absolutely killed it across the 4 hours. It was pretty remarkable how fast it was.
How did that deal kind of come together to get to go do that? If you can
Oh,
explain a little bit.
nah. Yeah, it was. I don't know if I can explain. It, I really honestly, if we could just even cut this part out. Like, like with the, I can't explain.
Oh,
I truly
okay.
can't. I literally can't.
Understand
Um,
that, but it's awesome just to get to see what you're able to do over there and compare yourself to, like Kazuki Nakajima, what he did. That was an F1 driver and success at Le
yeah,
Mans.
four-time Le Mans winner.
Yeah, I mean,
He's
we could sit here all day and compare, stats between him and so many of them. So I bet that was just a great learning opportunity just to get to talk with him and
Yeah,
compare data.
they weren't as quick, like they weren't as quicker than me as I would have thought they were. They
Mhm.
were a little, but it was more like it's like when you go see any pro athlete, like a true top level, and there's things they do that are so perfect and so precise and so on the nose that you go, oh, I didn't know that was quite possible. Like what I thought was perfection, there's a whole other layer to peel back from there. And I felt myself immediately get quicker after seeing their data the first time. And their video. It was some of the best driving I've ever seen. And it really was like, okay, like that's where we need to shoot for. Like we're shooting too low. We need to be shooting for this. And I almost immediately felt myself get more precise and just immediately better with my throttle inputs and my brake inputs. Just knowing like, oh, okay, like that is possible. There's that guy right there. He just went out and that was like a robot. I don't, like I'm shooting for a really good human. I need to be shooting for a robot. And that was a huge kind of like eye opener of where I want to strive to be, as opposed to, sometimes it's hard to get your hands on data of some of the best. So,
Yeah.
you don't always, you can't always see it.
But just sharing the track with someone like Kazuki, I bet that was a great asset to have, just learning a new track for you. Obviously, coming from America to go to Japan, and that's some of the best racing in the world. I mean, you look at some of the people they got over there, like in Super Formula and their Super GT. That's just wow. It'll blow your mind what those guys do over there.
Yeah, it was really cool. It's a totally different world. Like the tracks even are so different. Like our smoothest track is like Japan's bumpiest track.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, and the way they line the track at Fuji, I don't know about the other tracks for this, but they line Fuji with like a little gravel strip
Uh-huh.
right along the track. So if you even drop a wheel, you're shooting rocks everywhere and you really lose your
Yeah.
time. So it was really different, the track itself, compared to America. And it's a fun track. I felt like I got it really quick, but I didn't truly. It's, that same thing. Like you get to
Yeah.
here and then you get to there. I felt like I did. In the last session, in the night stint, I finally was like, oh, let the car go out. That same thing, that lower speed, get it all turned. And like I really started to be able to get it. So it took almost all weekend to truly get there. But, again, with Kazuki kind of coaching and helping, it was a really it was like one of those once in a lifetime things that I struggle to truly put into words because it was just so freaking cool. I cannot put it in any other way. It was, yeah. If anyone could ever, you know, I not that anyone could, like it was such a once in a lifetime.
You know, that was kind of an off season, just kind of keeping, all the gears and grind and all. But could we see you maybe do something like that again this year? Is the bug still, biting to go? Maybe not
I,
necessarily
I was
Japan, try
I
somewhere
was
new.
emailing them. That car right now is running the full season of Super
Really?
Taku. Yeah, I know. I sent some emails of, hey, if you need another American, I'll
Know who to
happily
call?
come over. But I think they're pretty set. They sold it to a customer team right now,
Okay.
so they're kind of working at work. Uh, but yeah,
But
Super Taku is a great series. That was a lot of fun.
as global as Ford is, you never know where the next event for you could be. There's so
Yeah,
many
the
great
six.
racing going around the world, and Ford's involved in so much. You turn on YouTube and you got GT challenges all over Europe and Asia, and there's so many great races going on, and Ford's right there in the middle of it.
Yeah, they're everywhere right now. I can't open my phone without seeing them at some different event, kicking butt and winning races. It's really, again, like it's really impressive that a manufacturer in such a short amount of time is able to put so many impressive programs together. And again, it's such a testament to how good everyone is at Ford and just the products they're putting out, especially on the street too. I don't even know the people on that side. But as a car enthusiast, they are checking all my boxes.
I'll end it with this for you, Devin. Looking at IMSA to growth since the iteration of the hybrid prototypes, and we're seeing this overseas as well. What's it been like just the growth of IMSA and just seeing more and more fans wanting to show up to these races, not just the big race of the weekend WeatherTech, but for more of the support races. What's it kind of like seeing the fan interaction? I know I've been at the first two, I guess three. I've been at the Roar to Rolex and Sebring this year, and every race I went to, the fan interaction is just better and better. From your perspective as the driver, how is it, seeing the growth of the series?
Yeah, it's really cool. I enjoy that part of it a lot, is watching the series grow and watching the fans. The first time they show up, they aren't quite sure of the series, and then the next year you see that same guy and they're like, "Hey, I was watching you and I've been following the series." I feel that it's a little easier for the fans to connect with some of the lower series where the car is more how you buy it from a dealership
Yeah.
and it's more of an affordable car that everybody it's accessible. You see it on the road, you see it at the dealership. If you really want, you could figure out a way to get a Mustang. They're not outrageously expensive. They're very affordable in all different trims. It's another great thing Ford does is that you can have different iterations of the car from wide price ranges. And so it's really fun seeing the fans from first year to this year. And I'm sure if I was here for the very first year of Mustang Challenge, it's really cool seeing every year the line in the autograph session grow, more and more people coming up to you and saying how, oh, they watched some of these races and they've been following. And it's really exciting. And I feel like right now it's a really good time to be any series in racing, but especially the feeder series and the more production-based cars it's definitely a good time for those series. They're getting a lot of growth and it's really fun to see the fans engage with the cars and can you pop the hood? I want to, yeah, absolutely. Like it's huge motor and it's the exact same motor that's in the car if you go buy it.
Racing now, sports car racing is now what it used to be, what the old saying used to be about racing a long time ago. Win on Sunday, sell on Monday. You see so many people
Yeah.
now, watching the races and wanting to go because you can go buy that Mustang or you can go buy that Porsche, Mercedes, whatever car you love, you can go buy just about and bring it, to an IMSA event.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like I would, when I see the car do well, it makes me want one that much more. And
Exactly.
especially when, like, I personally really like when the components I'm getting are super similar and developed off of the race car.
Mhm.
And that like there's elements of the race car in this. And that's another thing Ford does that's really cool is they connect it. They have the GTD that came out, and they really like bridge that gap between what they're doing on the racing side and what they're doing on the streetcar side. They have different models constantly coming that have different capabilities. I really enjoy it. It makes me want to buy them. Like
Exactly.
I really want one of those Mustangs really bad.
But Devin, this was awesome. I was really glad we got to make this happen, and congratulate you on your win at Laguna on Sunday. And looking ahead to Mid Ohio, just right at about a month for a little over. I think it's gonna be an exciting championship. We got some really great guys there on me, and you're one of them in the mix right there for the Dark Horse Championship.
Yeah, it's gonna come down to the wire. But thanks. I really appreciate you having me
Absolutely.
on. And yeah,
We'll try and do this again maybe end of the season.
sounds great. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate that, Devin. Thank you.
All right, see ya.
See you.